Item 5C, approval of 2022 City Council goals and priorities. Looks like our presenter is Council President Michael Goodnow.
All right, so we don't actually normally do this, but I just kind of thought it was maybe a good idea to sort of set these goals in motion. I'm not going to read them all. We've gone over it several times, and we've had quite some time to review them. And I guess first up, I have to see if any member of the public wishes to comment on these. All right, seeing none, we'll go to the council for a motion. Councilmember Dennehy.
Sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm going to move to, before we actually move to adopt, and maybe Angela, you can.
We need the motion. We're going to need the motion first.
We would need the
first, and then an amendment. Got you. Sorry,
so
I will move.
2:30.
Go ahead, Jeff. You take it. I'll second, and then I have an amendment. Thanks a lot.
Sounds good. I move to approve the 2022 City Council goals and priorities as established at the joint planning session on June 11th, 2022.
And Councilmember Dennehy.
I will second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. We are open for discussion. Councilmember Dennehy.
Excellent, thanks. I just wanted to add a friendly amendment if I could. And Angela, I hope you can kind of follow this, but under the bullet point number 7, what I wanted to do was add some language in order to really focus on race equity. So what the proposal that I have is, if my other counselors are amenable to it, under the first bullet point, under number 7, right now it says coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs. I want to add by using a race equity lens to that bullet point. And then under bullet point number 2, right now it says consider program needs and funding options to support equity policies and programs. I just want to add the word race before equity so that it would read consider program needs and funding options to support race equity policies and programs. And the reason that I'm offering this friendly motion is, there's been a lot of research around equity issues and oppression issues in the United States, and time again, life outcomes and negative outcomes are really focused on the racial caste system that we have in the country. So there's tons of studies that are done that show the darker your skin, the worse life outcomes that you have in this nation. And so when we're looking at equity issues, it's really important to kind of focus on what those life outcomes are the most, and then kind of look at intersectionalities like gender, sexual orientation, things like that afterwards. So that's what I'm proposing to the council. Let me know if you need me to repeat the wording, or if Angela, you've got that for my friendly amendment.
I've got it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second. We're open for discussion. Councilmember Coughlin.
Yeah, so two questions come to mind. I guess Councilor Dennehy, would you be amenable to language of something that says race and other equity factors? And I'm thinking out loud, as you mentioned, there are, race equity is a big one, but there are other factors of equity. And so I think it would be good for us to make sure that we're not focusing just on race equity, but on a lot of other different types of equity. And I think the wording you proposed would make it specifically just race equity.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it looks like I wasn't going to get a second on race, so I'm open to other language, of course.
Okay. Councilmember Fry.
Yes, really echoing Councilmember Coughlin's in that first section that you were referring to, it does appear that that was focused more in general equity. And then the racial equity, which, you know, I'm a strong supporter of. I really, you know, there's a term called the hierarchy of oppression that you might be familiar with. And I've always believed that, you know, you can't really, they're all connected. They're all connected. And I do believe we haven't done a good enough job in this country, obviously, with race equity. And I think REAC is a great place to start with that. New programs and so forth, and that first paragraph that was referenced, I wouldn't mind at all the word race and other equity issues, just to bring some more prominence to the issue of racial equity, and then to, you know, support whatever we all can do with REAC especially. Thank you.
Councilmember Mockler.
Thanks, President Goodnow. I'm a member of REAC, and I feel very strongly about race equity. I approve this wording as it stands. I spoke up a few weeks ago after the Supreme Court decision. Sorry. And I feel that equity, just straight up, is what we should be striving for in this particular goal and priority. So I'm just weighing in.
Councilmember Coughlin.
One other thought comes to mind, which is, Mayor, I know during this, during our retreat on a lot of these goals, we wanted to coordinate with you to make sure the wording was something, you know, you and your administration can work with as well, because we obviously need to work together to make these implemented. I guess I'm curious your thoughts on a wording of race and other equity review, and anything you wanted to weigh in with.
Good.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, councilors, Council President. So when we come forward, when I develop with my staff an RFP, and we come forward with a proposal to you to either go out for a little consulting, or we go directly to a full-time direct report director position, it will be an diversity, equity, and inclusion position. Now, once we have a professional in there who's trained in this field of diversity, equity, inclusion, they can help us articulate how our policies might prioritize what we've already heard from Councilor Dennehy tonight, which is the outcomes from the you know, basically the darker your color of your skin, the less positive your outcomes will be a part of the discussion. That this is what we're going to hire. We're going to hire somebody with academic credentials, work experience, professional credentials, and training, you know, that's going to help guide this process. I would like to keep it from the administrative standpoint at that diversity, equity, and inclusion, and let the process be guided by that individual who we bring in. And there's just one more thing. I want the person to be set up for success and not have us direct that path right away. And I want to hear feedback from this professional that I'll propose to you and you will confirm. And so, yeah, thank you, Council.
Thank you. All right, I
have one question.
Yeah.
So the amendment as it is right now is revising section 7, bullet point 1 to read, coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs by using a race equity lens. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah. And revising section 7, bullet point 2 to read, consider program needs and funding options to support race equity policies and programs. Okay, I just want to make sure that we know that's what the amendment is at this point.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, because Vice President Chamberlain and I kind of wordsmith this, and we were looking at, if you look at the way it's written, it's sort of like higher level, like let's look at our policies and programs for under equity, which includes race equity. Consider program needs and funding for anything related to equity. And then the third one is really about REAC recommendations, right? So taking on board what REAC's offering us, or actually what they had already offered us previously. So that one's, to me, was more specifically about race. I'm not, we're talking about, we're going to be redoing these goals in about 6 months. So I really could go either way on this. It's not gonna, if we put the word race in, it's not gonna prohibit us from looking for equity with women. And if we put, so it's a little bit in tension, that's all. So, okay, Councilmember Frye.
I was okay until that statement. I do believe that we set direction, like a course direction, and we have influence in that way. And I would feel more comfortable if I'm fine with including the word race in that. Is it section 7? I'm sorry, I don't have that right in front of me. Maybe it's I'm not sure that I'm getting the sense that we really want something to happen, and we want to make sure this intention clear. And so I'm so supportive of that. But, I've been a feminist all my life, and I just don't believe that despite calling it a racial justice lens or a race equity lens, that, oh yeah, we'll include women in that. I've lived long enough to know that that doesn't always happen. So please consider that. I want my fellow council members to consider that as we move forward. How can we embrace all equity and at the same time make it clear that we have plans? And I think that does come right now through REAC. And whatever I can do to support that, I will certainly do. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Denny.
Final comment on this. So these bullet point number 7 is actually a recommendation from REAC. So the language that I brought to the retreat was based on the community conversations and the information that we received from BIPOC community leaders. So that's what I distilled. I distilled the public survey that we took. I distilled the BIPOC community leader input. And then I distilled the other slides that were given into that language. So this, if you're supporting REAC, this is something that they're asking for. When I, got the language that had been revised, I thought a lot on it as somebody that, my first job out of law school was the Seattle Office for Civil Rights, where the Race and Social Justice Initiative, which is a hallmark of race equity work in local governments across the country, started. And so I really kind of, want you to think about, when you're feminism, think about that actually Black trans women are the most vulnerable in our society. They're the ones that die from suicide and homicide at disproportionate rates. Black, gay men and women actually have the worst outcomes when thinking about sexual orientation, oppression, things like that. So I do think it's symbolic, and I do think it's really important at the time of history that we're at to say, like, hey, we're seeing this as like a life or death issue, just like Kitsap Public Health has declared racism a public health issue. So that being said, I do think it's important to include the word race, but if folks kind of see this like oppression Olympics going on and a hierarchy, then that's your prerogative.
Thank you. The last thing I'll say before we vote on just the friendly amendment is that we don't list everything in our goals, right? We don't, one of our goals is not to keep water running, right? One of our goals is not to keep the lights on or whatever. So it's things that we're going to give some special attention to and some focus. So with that, I call for the question.
This is for the amending motion. Councilmember Mochler,
No,
Fry,
No,
Coughlin,
No.
Dennehy,
Yes.
good now.
Yes.
We have 3 noes and 2 yeses. Motion fails.
All right. Now we could be on discussion. We're back to as presented, accepting the council's goals and priorities as written.